Hello, my name is Robert Gibbs, and today I'm going to begin teaching you how to begin playing rugby. It's going to seem complicated, but after this, I promise you'll be able to join a practice and grow your skills even faster. The majority of new rugby players, especially at the collegiate level, have barely even heard of rugby, let alone have ever even played it. So don't stress too much, just sit back and learn. As an education major and a current player, I'll be using everything I have learned in my 3 years and through all of my research to show you how to begin playing the sport that blew me away. So, only playing for 3 years may not seem like it gives me lots of authority, and I would have to agree with you, though that 3 years has been spent watching everyone around me, including my coach and my teammates, working to improve my game knowledge. I've gone to more tournaments than I can count on both hands, watching both collegiate and amateur teams playing to slowly improve my skills and my understanding of the game. Everything I'm about to explain throughout this video is the culmination of what I've learned during my time in the rugby world. So, what is rugby? The closest comparison to another sport I can compare rugby to is a hybrid of American football and soccer, but even that doesn't really do it justice. To be honest, rugby is in its own category. The ball is almost constantly in play with minimal stops to the flow of the game. Compare that to the average 18 minutes of action that the NFL gets, and that makes a much more entertaining experience. Furthermore, the ball can only be thrown backwards and underhanded, but it can also be kicked. Don't stress too much about moving it down the field, we'll get into that later. So, what does a rugby pitch look like? A rugby pitch is 100 meters long by 70 meters wide, and there's a couple different important lines on the pitch marking different lengths. The first most important line is the 50 meter. This is where the game starts with kickoff. The opposing team has to stand at least 10 meters back, which is nicely marked out by the dashed line. The ball must also be kicked at least 10 meters to start, or else a penalty is called. Next, we have the 22 meter line, which is used to control when teams can kick the ball out of bounds and maintain control of it. This is used defensively to give yourself a better position down the field. Finally, we have the try line, which is where players touch the ball down to score. This covers the width of the field and are usually 10 to 20 meters long. So now that we know what a field looks like, who are the players? Just a warning, during this piece, I'm going to mention a few terms I haven't explained yet, but don't worry, explaining them will be easier after you learn what the team is made up of. There's a couple of different ways of playing rugby, with the two most popular versions being 15s and 7s. All this refers to is the number of players a team can have on the pitch at one time and how long a game takes. For 15s, the players are split into forwards and backs, and the game is split into 40-minute halves. The forwards make up 8 of the players, and their main job is to be big, hit hard, and move the ball into contact. Starting with the two props, numbers 1 and 3. These are typically some of the largest people on the team. Their main job is to lead the scrum and just push their way down the field with brute force. Usually, they're the people with the most contact at the end of the game, so props have to be ready to hit and be just as ready to be hit. Next in line is the hooker, number 2. Their job is to bind the props into the scrum, push the ball back to the 8 and the 9, and support them down the field through rucks and tackles. Just as props do, hookers have to be ready to hit and be hit. These 3 make up the front row of your scrum. Your second row consists of your locks, numbers 4 and 5, who are the power of the team. They lock in between and push the props forward in scrums, and usually jump or lift in lineouts. When moving down the field, their main job is to support in rucks or move the ball short distances to slow down the pace and give time for their team to set up. Moving on, you've got the flankers, numbers 6 and 7, whose main job is to hit hard, grab ball, and run. While it seems kind of like a brainless position, it does require lots of game sense and requires you to constantly be aware. They support the sides of the scrums, keeping the sides tight and pushing forward. When the ball is pulled anywhere, their job is to make the first hit and try to steal it for your side. Finally, you have the 8-man. Their job is to push the scrum from the back and support all parts of the field. They have the option of either picking up the ball out of a scrum or supporting the 9 to pick it up. They work close to the backs and support through tackles or moving the ball down the field. Moving on, the backs make up the other 7 players and have the easier job of moving the ball down the line fast and running even faster. Backs don't typically have to be small, but they do have to be agile, quick, and able to make decisions on the fly. Backs usually need to be able to kick, catch, run, and make distance tackles. Starting off the line is the scrum half, number 9. Their job is to coordinate the forwards and the backs, feed the ball from the scrum, and pass the ball out to the backs. Scrummies need to have good consistent passes and an open mind of the field. They're usually smaller, agile, scrappy, and able to make decisions on the fly. On defense, they follow the opposing scrumming around and try to make them make a mistake, or tackle them. Next in line, you have the fly half, number 10. These are the playmakers of the team. Think of like a quarterback, directing the forwards and the backs on where to set up. They receive the ball from the 9 and decide where to go from there, either to the backs or give it to the forwards to run into contact. They need to be able to pass effectively and think clearly while moving across the field. Fly halves are usually some of the best kickers on the team, leading kickoff and taking goal kicks. Next, you have our centers, number 12 and number 13, inside and outside respectively. They play next to the 10 and usually carry out the plays called by the 10. They need good passing skills as well as coordination. Centers want to take space on opposite sides of the field from the forwards to swing the ball out wide and use their speed to score. On defense, their focus is to prevent the other team from doing exactly that. That's why centers need to be confident and do whatever they can to slow down any opponents on a run. On the edges of the field, you have the wingers, number 11 and 14. They have the easiest job of be fast, catch kicks, and be annoying. Number 11 tends to play the left side of the field, while number 14 tends to take the right. They both work in coordination with the fullback in a pendulum formation across the field, covering any weaknesses on the edge of the defense or ready to catch kicks and finish out plays. This is generally the easiest position to learn, as you only really need fundamental skills to be an effective winger. Finally, you've got the fullback, number 15. As the name suggests, they play behind the line and are usually the last line of defense, as well as calling for the defense to shift left or right. On offense, fullbacks should be looking for gaps in the opposing defense, calling for the ball, and running through. They focus on chasing kicks, supporting any weak spots, and therefore they need to be fast, confident, and able to slow down anyone that might have broken through the main line. So, moving on to sevens, positions don't matter on the field. Anyone can play 9, and everyone is expected to make big runs and even bigger hits. Because there is fewer people covering the same sized field, the game is shrunk down to 2 7-minute halves. The standard way of playing sevens is the 7 players spread across the field and play of groups of 3 on the 2 sides, with a pivot playing in the middle. The idea is that the 3 people in your group are the 3 people you stay with for the entire duration of the game. These 3 make their hits together, ruck, and pass together. The pivot plays in between the 2 groups and covers the middle of the field. They support both sides of the field, receiving either the ball from the ruck and getting it to the other pod, or filling in where another player is falling behind. So now that we know our positions, what does the game look like? For simplicity, we're going to discuss a 15s game. To start the game, the captains meet with the referee, who's called a sir, and do a coin flip that determines who kicks and who receives first. Both teams line up on their respective sides in certain formation. Usually, the receiving forwards match where the kicking team's forwards are, and the backs do the same. This is because the kicking team is able to chase down the ball and attempt to retake and score. Matching a similar sized player makes attacking the ball harder. Imagine yourself being an 150-pound back matching up against a 280-pound forward who's probably about 6 foot, 6'3". You had better pray that you can catch the ball fast and run even faster. Vice versa, imagine that 280-pound forward trying to tackle that shifty back should be able to outrun you. You're just going to look goofy. So for kickoff, the ball must be kicked in a certain way called a drop kick, where the ball hits the ground first before it goes into the air. A good drop kick goes high and far, giving your team a good chance at chasing and catching it. The kicking team must stand behind the kicker, or else they are given a penalty, and the other team is given the ball. After either team catches the ball, the game is on. A person cannot be tackled in the air due to safety reasons. However, as soon as they touch the ground, ideally the now defending team will tackle them, causing a ruck to form. A ruck happens when a player is tackled and on the ground. The tackler must roll away, and the teammates of the person that was tackled crouch over their body, preventing the enemy team from poaching the ball through the tunnel or the length of the tacklee's body. In 15s, there are usually 2 people rucking, while the 9 pulls the ball out to feed the rest of the team. Alternatively, the enemy team has a few options here. If no one from the attacking team has rucked over the tacklee yet, they are able to come in over the person's body and grab the ball. If someone has rucked over, they are able to come in straight and counter-ruck, such as this person, attempting to push these ruckers off balance, giving a teammate the chance to step in and poach the ball. So, a few key things here. This person must present the ball. This team must come over the body straight. Same for this team. You must come straight through over the body. Cannot come from the sides, or that is a penalty. Both teams are looking to secure this person here and not lose their balance, while this team is looking to push the red team off and poach the ball. So, after a ruck is formed, teams will then line up off of the ruck based on their position and what side they're on. Defenders will spread the entirety of the field in a flat line, matching up with someone a similar size to them, ready to fly up and attempt to tackle them. Offensively, there's a multitude of options for the 9 and the 10 to choose. All teams have their own set plays for their forwards and backs, but there are two universal and simple choices. For the forwards, set your forwards up into pods or groups of 3, and have them crash the line of defenders using their size to push through. Usually, this is done a couple of times in a row, with each crash hoping to gain a few meters at a time to scramble the defense, pulling more defenders into one side. After you've pulled defenders in, the second option that usually happens is that the ball can be thrown out to the backs, who hopefully are able to take space on the opposing side of the field and outpace the defending backs. This can be done in the form of passing the ball down the line, or even by kicking the ball over the defending line into empty space and chasing it down to get an easy try. The backs are usually set up in a diagonal line, called a wing, off of the 10 to prevent forward passes and to gain space. So while this play is going on, there's the potential for a variety of penalties. A couple that we've already discussed are being offsides, tackling someone in the air, playing the ball less than 10 meters off of kickoff, and forward passes. There are a few more that are even more important than that though. The most common two are knocks and high tackles. A knock is when someone hits the ball in any capacity and it goes forward. Remember, one of the biggest challenges of rugby is that the ball can only be thrown backwards. If you try and catch the ball but it slips and falls forward, that's a knock. If you're trying to intercept a catch and drop it forward, knock. If you're catching a kick and it bounces off your chest, knock. See this person, he's dropping the ball here, it's going forwards, that is a knock. So after a knock is called, the sir marks where it happens, this mark is our mark here, and lines the forwards up in a scrum. The props, numbers 1 and 3 right here, bind in around our hooker, then the locks, 4 and 5, crouch down and push their heads in between the pairs. The flanks then lock their shoulders onto the butts of the locks and push them forward, securing them into place. Finally, the 8-man pushes their head in between the 4 and the 5 and between their legs and drives them forward. After the scrum is secured, the 9 of the team awarded the penalty pushes the ball into the tunnel down the middle of the two teams. The hooker's job right here is to fight for the ball with their right foot and push it back towards the 8 or the 9 man and to get the ball out to the backs. So we'll discuss tackling more in a little bit, but tackling anyone above the sternum or grabbing them in any capacity in a dangerous way leads to a penalty. As you can see, this is incredibly dangerous. You should not be tackling anyone that high, your arm should not be that close to someone's head or throat. So getting back 10. When a high tackle or one of the other penalties mentioned earlier is called, your team will be called to get back 10, which means you must get back 10 meters and give the opponent an advantage. If the team that caused the penalty does not get back 10 and tackles the ball carrier, they are called to get back 10 again and is repeated until 10 meters is passed. To start, you must tap the ball off of your foot and it's treated like pulling the ball from a ruck. They can either run it into contact in an attempt to break the line, or pass it to the forwards or backs, or kick it out of bounds and force a line out. A line out occurs when the ball goes out of bounds. There's a couple different ways this can happen. As mentioned earlier, if a team is in their own 22 meters, they can kick the ball out down the line as long as it goes directly out, and will retain possession where it went out. If they are anywhere else on the field, possession goes to the other team. A lineout consists of 2 lifters, a jumper, a thrower, a shockey, and the rest of the team ready to receive. Your lifters are usually the locks or your props, or any 2 people with similar strengths and size. As the name implies, they lift the jumper into the air and hold them up as they fight for the ball and are responsible for safely lowering the jumper. The jumper is usually a lock or a taller back. They are lifted in the air and fight against the other jumper for possession. They can either hit the ball backwards or catch it and throw it backwards to the 9 who is ready to set up and waiting. Your thrower is usually the hooker. This is the only time a ball can be thrown overhand, as it is similar to a soccer throw-in. The thrower must stand still and throw the ball straight down the tunnel or in between the 2 teams. After they throw the ball in, they are expected to support the receiver and prepare for the next phase of play. The shockey stands behind the jumper and has 2 jobs. They are usually a lock or another tall player there to catch a ball that goes over the lineout or is missed by the jumper. They're also expected to be the first hit on defense and the first support on offense, either in a ruck or catching a quick pass. The rest of the team lines up flat on defense, 10 meters behind the 9, or in a wing on offense, setting up for the next play. And now, you've done it. You've made it down the field, you're about to enter the try zone and finally score. How do you make it count though? Just running in simply does not work. In rugby, you have to touch the ball to the ground, unobstructed, to score a try, which is worth 5 points. This means that if you touch the ball to the ground and lose possession or lose control of it, it does not count. So where do you place it though? Does it really matter that much? The try zone can be huge, 70 meters wide by 10 to 20 meters long, so does it really matter? Not really, but different placements can affect other aspects of the game. The general rule of thumb is to place the ball in the center, just under the uprights. This makes it so the conversion kick is easier. After a try is scored, your team kicks the ball off of a tee for 2 extra points. You kick the ball in line with where the ball was touched down from any distance. That means that if the ball was scored on the outside of the pitch, almost out of bounds, that ball can be kicked from anywhere in front of the 22-meter line next to the out-of-bounds line, such as the picture on the left. If the ball is placed down in the center of the try zone, the ball can be kicked from the center of the field any distance, such as the picture in the bottom right. A try isn't the only time a ball can be kicked for extra points though. If your team gets a penalty at a distance you feel comfortable kicking at, you can attempt a conversion kick from there, forcing the opposing team to stand 10 meters back while you attempt. So moving on, if you're anything like me, one of the big things you're probably wondering right now is, wow, this all sounds really dangerous. Are they wearing any safety gear at all? And while you're right, it can be very dangerous if not taken completely seriously and your techniques are practiced properly. About the safety gear, we get mouth guards and scrum caps shown in the bottom left. That's it. Anything hard plastic is forbidden from being on your body, and any metal, such as jewelry or piercings, must be taken out before every game. Every person on the field, including coaches, sirs, and players, number one priority is playing safely. If there's anything that is deemed unsafe, the sir is able to stop play and reset. For example, scrums can be quite dangerous if not done properly, and tend to cave in on themselves if not supported properly. If the sir or any player feels as though they are at risk of getting injured, they are allowed to call out and have the scrum restarted. As you can see in the top left, you can see a scrum falling apart. Very dangerous. And when tackling, one of the first things players learn how to do is to tackle and to be tackled safely, to prevent any unnecessary injuries that will definitely occur. So let's talk about tackling. We discussed that tackling above the sternum is considered high and is a penalty. When learning to tackle, players learn how to drop their body to aim for the hips and wrap the knees to bring the opponent safely to the ground. The goal is to hit the opponent with your shoulder and have your cheek aligned with their butt cheek. Following with that, the wrapping of your arms around either the hips or knees and pulling them to the ground. Players must go down with the person they tackle to set them down safely and prevent them from slamming the head or anything else off of the ground. For more in-depth tips on tackling, I recommend the in-depth video by Luke Treharn, linked down in the description. As you can see here, we have a very legal, very safe tackle. He's wrapped around the hips, starting to go for the knee. This player will go down safely onto his side. Moving on, being tackled. Another really important aspect of tackling is, well, being tackled. Learning how to safely take a hit prevents both you and the tackler from getting injured. Players are taught to accept the hit and fall with the tackler, aiming to fall on their side, first landing on their thigh, the hip, then the shoulder. This allows them to control how they fall and prevent any sudden jolts of the body. So as you can see on the left here, we have a very good reciprocation of a tackle. This person has landed on their side, they're falling, and they're ready to present the ball. The second image, not the safest, but definitely safer than other I've seen. He's going down on his side, the player's going down with him. It's a very controlled experience. Although it does look dangerous, I promise this is one of the safer ways to tackle. The third one is not safe at all. The player that is tackling is being falled on top of, so that way they have a risk of hurting their head, getting a concussion, or whatever else. And the person that is being tackled is falling on their arm, trying to prevent themselves from going all the way down. This is most likely going to cause a damage in the shoulder, the elbow, or the wrist, and is generally just frowned upon all around. So, after watching this video, I hope you've learned a little bit about the seemingly complicated sport. I urge you, go find a club near you and get to practicing the simple skills we discussed today. Keep working and make sure to check out the links in the description for more in-depth information. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.